before Mount Everest was discovered in 1852. Do you know which mountain was the highest in the world? The answer isn't K2, nor is it Kangchenjunga. In fact, it was still Everest. It just hadn't been named yet. But here's the real question. Before we knew about Everest, which mountain did humanity mistakenly believe was the roof of the world for centuries? Let's find out. What was the highest mountain in the world before Everest was discovered? Let's dive in. 1. Mount Chimborazo, Ecuador, the forgotten king of the Andes. Before the Himalayan giants like Everest or Kangchenjunga were known to the world, Chimborazo, an inactive stratovolcano in Ecuador, was the name that dominated every geographical map. Throughout the 18th and early 19th centuries, Western scientists and explorers took it for granted that this was the roof of the world. Standing at 6,263 meters above sea level, it is not only the highest peak in the Andes, but also a symbol of South America's natural majesty. So much so that its image is proudly featured at the very center of Ecuador's national coat of arms. A geographical paradox. Higher than Everest? The most fascinating detail that makes Chimborazo a legend is the difference between measuring from sea level versus measuring from the Earth's center. Because the Earth is not a perfect sphere, but rather bulges at the equator, regions near the equator are further from the planetary core than the poles. Since Chimborazo sits almost exactly on the equatorial line, just 1 degree south, when measured from the center of the Earth, its peak reaches a distance of 6,384.4 kilometers. This figure is a staggering 2,164 meters, greater than that of Mount Everest. This leads to an incredible truth. If you are standing on the summit of Chimborazo, you are actually at the closest point to the moon and the stars on the entire planet, far surpassing anyone standing on the peak of Everest. The legacy of Alexander von Humboldt. Chimborazo's historical influence is deeply tied to the great explorer Alexander von Humboldt. In 1802, he embarked on a historic climb that would later completely change our understanding of ecology. Although he couldn't reach the summit due to the icy terrain and severe altitude sickness, Humboldt climbed to over 5,800 meters, a world record at the time. His observations on how temperature and vegetation change with altitude at Chimborazo laid the foundation for modern biogeography. Even though its title of highest in the world was usurped by Everest in 1852, Chimborazo remains a one-of-a-kind wonder, a place where humans can touch the edge of space without ever leaving the ground. 2. Mount Dhaulagiri, the Titan of the East. Continuing the historical journey after Chimborazo's status was called into question, the eyes of explorers began to turn toward the east, where the legendary Himalayas hid gargantuan secrets. The first name to send shockwaves through the geographical world was Dhaulagiri, the 8,000-meter barrier breaker. In 1808, early British surveys in India trained their lenses on a white, solitary, and commanding peak in Nepal. This was Dhaulagiri 1. With its height measured at 8,167 meters, Dhaulagiri sent a massive shock through the scientific community of the time. It officially toppled the centuries-long reign of Chimborazo and became the first mountain in the world recorded by man to surpass the 8,000-meter mark. For the next 30 years, from 1808 to 1838, Dhaulagiri was celebrated by the world as the highest peak on the planet, the solitary white mountain. The name Dhaulagiri originates from Sanskrit, where Dhyala means white or dazzling, and Giri means mountain. True to its name, it appears as a colossal pyramid shrouded in eternal ice and snow, standing in stark contrast to the surrounding peaks. What makes Dhaulagiri both terrifying and majestic is its extreme verticality. When viewed from the Kali Gandaki River Valley, the mountain soars straight into the sky, forming one of the deepest gorges in the world, with a staggering vertical drop of over 7,000 meters between the valley floor and the summit over a very short horizontal distance. A silent abdication. Despite holding the title of Roof of the World for 3 decades, Dhaulagiri's position began to waver as trigonometric survey techniques became more sophisticated. In 1838, surveyors discovered that Kangchenjunga in eastern Nepal was even higher. However, Dhaulagiri's abdication did nothing to diminish its value. For mountaineers, it remains one of the most grueling challenges in history. It wasn't until 1960, after numerous failed attempts, that humans finally set foot on its summit. Dhaulagiri is not just a number on a map, it is the first milestone that made humanity realize Earth possesses giants that far exceed our wildest imaginations. 3. Mount Kangchenjunga, the final ruler before the era of Everest. Following the line of great predecessors, Kangchenjunga was the last to wear the crown before Everest officially stepped into the spotlight. It is the only mountain on this list that nearly held the #1 spot forever, if not for the emergence of complex mathematical calculations. The last sovereign before Everest, beginning in 1838, after dethroning Dhaulagiri, Kangchenjunga was officially recognized as the highest mountain in the world. Situated on the border between Nepal and the Indian state of Sikkim, at an elevation of 8,586 meters, it reigned supreme on every geographical map for nearly 15 years. At that time, explorers believed that humanity had reached the ultimate limit of nature. Kangchenjunga was more than just a peak. It was revered as a sacred icon, a deity guarding the eastern frontier of the Himalayas. 5 treasures of the snow. The name Kangchenjunga originates from Tibetan, meaning 5 treasures of the snow, representing the 5 towering peaks that form this massive glacial massif. These treasures symbolize the 5 riches bestowed upon humanity by the divine: gold, silver, precious stones, grain, and holy scripture. Unlike the somewhat solitary Everest, Kangchenjunga is a colossal mountain mass with an enormous surface area, creating its own distinct ecosystem. Its sudden, violent blizzards make it one of the most dangerous mountains for climbers, even in the modern era, a historic transfer of power. In 1847, while conducting measurements in India, Andrew Waugh, the successor of the Great Trigonometrical Survey, observed a distant peak lying far behind Kangchenjunga. He tentatively named it Peak 15. After years of grueling data collection and correcting errors caused by light refraction, mathematicians realized in 1852 that Peak 15, Everest, was actually about 250 meters higher than Kangchenjunga. From that moment on, Kangchenjunga was moved to second place, and is currently the 3rd highest in the world after K2. And so, from the soaring peaks of South America to the giants of the Himalayas, the journey to find the roof of the world is more than just a story of numbers and measurements. It is a testament to the human thirst for conquest and our humility before the vastness of nature. Everest has always been there, proud and silent, through millions of years, waiting for us to grow strong enough to call it by its name. But remember, while Everest is the highest relative to sea level, Chimborazo remains the point closest to the stars, and Kangchenjunga remains the mountain of sacred treasures. Every mountain wears a crown of its own. What about you? If you could choose just once in your life to stand atop one of these peaks, which one would it be? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to join me in discovering more fascinating facts about our world. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.